Greetings. So I just want to share a little bit about communication, the throat channel, and how communication currently is just being invited to really up level. Even if you've been an excellent communicator until now, how the whole world is kind of going through communication chaos. How to say things, how to not offend someone, about this divide that's being created for humanity. And the divide is so extreme that you never know what side someone's on, what you can say, how to say it, how to negotiate. And what I consider to be so important about this is that as we face challenges, there is a gift to it. And the gift is that we learn from each other. And whether that is just to learn how to communicate, how to refine our speech so that we don't offend, realizing, okay, my hair's a bit fluffy, realizing how we can improve it, realizing that even though we thought we were good at communicating, even though we thought we were patient, even though we thought we were subtle, even though we thought we were respecting the other, that somehow, because a lot of people are very triggered right now, very touchy about being misunderstood or forced into something or judged about what side of the divide they're on in terms of the medical thing. It is a really amazing invitation to reflect on when to be silent, when to speak, when not. And there's a couple of things that I have been using here and there, and I feel like I need to use them more and more right now, that really help with communication when communication looks to be really challenging, when you know if you say one wrong thing it could get shut down permanently. You know that if you say one wrong thing, the person may not shut it down but may avoid you or not talk to you again, or be passive aggressive or overtly aggressive even, or make the wrong conclusions. So one of the things that is really important that I've used a lot, in my opinion, but I guess I have probably still got a long way to improve, is to pre-frame my intent. But then a lot of people like that even know my intention is good, and my intention is around opening up, sharing, reflecting, seeing through what's going on, or caring for people's lives, which is what we all in essence do. Both sides want to be alive, both sides want to thrive, both sides just want to get on with things really, and there's just different perspectives on how that can be achieved. So a good way is to pre-frame and say, hey, no matter what side you're on, I love you and respect you, and I just want to have an open chat because I want to learn something, or because I want to see where you're at, or because I realize that when we don't talk and we're afraid of each other, other things shut down as well, which is what happens, right? When we stop talking about one topic, everything is a bit more delicate. Everything is a bit, we're talking, but are they gonna get into this topic now? So it is huge. It is huge, and unless we really contemplate it and meditate on it, we may not realize how huge it is. There are people that want to please other people and realize they can't do it because one friend wants it this way, one friend wants it that way, or one parent wants it this way, another parent wants it this way. The truth is that we all have to make our own decision, obviously, and that we should always love each other no matter what we choose. And that is certainly my pre-frame. And of course, even though I may pre-frame that, that doesn't mean that they believe it. And it doesn't mean that it's easy to make that decision, because it is so divisive. God, this is really intense here. So reiterating that verbally or in a text form or in an email form is probably important to reassure somebody that you're not going to judge them, that you are going to respect their freedom, so that it's in writing, it's in clarity, it's not said in a subtle throwaway comment. So clarity in saying, hey, do you hear what I've just said, and I do really mean that, is really powerful. So looking into another person's eyes and saying, please, can you hear me on this, and I want to listen to you. that's another important skill that can really work from my experience and from what I've been studying and reading, because I'm always up leveling and trying to learn better ways. And the other one is another technique that I haven't used much, but it is really powerful, and that's really making sure you give the other person full power by saying, are you happy to have this conversation with me? And if they say no, then you can either let it go, or you can say, between, in a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to have this conversation with me today or tomorrow or soon? And if they say 5 out of 10, then you can always say, wow, that is fantastic, thank you. And you could ask, why didn't you choose a lower number? Why didn't you choose 4, 3, 2, or 1? Which then is a very powerful way to get the other side, or the person you're talking to feel and reflect on why it is that they want to have the conversation, why they would actually do it. And then they might say something like, well, I do want us to have communication. Well, actually, I enjoy talking to you. Well, actually, when I'm in a better frame of mind, I wouldn't mind a good discussion so that we can both learn from each other. Or it could be 5 out of 5 instead of, 5 out of 10 likelihood versus 4 out of 10, because they're open, actually, they're not that anti-conversation. Or they might say, well, because I think I might learn something from this, or because I know you love to communicate and I do want to give you that, even though I'm not super keen. Or they might realize, well, because something good might come out of it. They start to look for the reasons why a conversation might be a great thing. They might even say, because non-communication creates barriers and I don't want that. And only because you're asking them, they will start to point that out themselves. So if someone says 1 out of 10, the chances that I'll talk to you, you can ask them, why didn't you choose 0 out of 10? They might say, well, because, gotta be reasonable, or because, well, it's probably good to chat sometime, or maybe because we've chatted before and it was actually better than I thought. And this will remind them of reasons why you want to communicate. The other thing you can say is, what would it take for you to turn that 1 out of 10 into maybe a 3 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10, even just small steps. And they might say something like, well, I might be more open to that if, for example, we're on holiday, or we are like, we've gone to this and that first, or something, where you feel that they can choose the surroundings, the dynamics in which the conversation is comfortable. So this is really about navigating conversation. And like I said, I'm still learning that. It's so deep. It's the tone in which you say something. It's the presumptiveness that comes across when someone like me, who's relatively direct, is coming from a place of, hey, I want to learn from you. Hey, I want to talk. Hey, I don't know everything, believe me. And to not come across that way, to come across, that to realize that this is deceptive, that not everyone notices that I think that, not everyone assumes that I'm being humble, not everyone assumes that I'm not trying to convince them, that I'm just trying to talk, or that I'm just wanting to get something off my chest, or that I just want to know where they're standing at today in this point, just to get that movement of conversation rather than the congestion in the heart and the connection in the mind. So it's very deep, and our communication is really our survival as a society and as a humanity. People thrive when they communicate. Relationships thrive when they communicate. And the more we make assumptions, and the more we are deflective and like, hey, I feel like you're dominating me. Hey, I feel like you're assuming things. Hey, I feel like you're trying to control me. Hey, you're making me feel like you know everything and I know nothing. That's never ever gonna work if that is the belief system. So really, I realized that we need to make so sure that we have that sorted, and that even if it was sorted once, we reiterate our purpose, our knowledge, and have this little pre-frame. And that can even be written if it's hard for you to express it. It can be written and people need to hear it. For example, even if you think they know you very well, and that's an assumption, right? Because people have their own world and they may have forgotten and they may have made some wrong conclusions. it happens. We misunderstand. We think in ways that don't always match. Really reminding the person, this is my intent, and this is why I wish to talk, and this is why I'm here, and this is how I feel, is super powerful. So we could say something like, hey, I feel like we've really created distance because we've avoided a topic. I think that we could learn a lot by talking and respecting each other's differences. And I'm really curious how you feel, and I'd love to bounce off some of my learning and my ideas off with you and have your feedback as well. Because the more we listen to each other, the more we thrive in this relationship as a society, in the world, and leading that by example is amazing, right? Especially in loving relationships or in relationships that are really important, right? And we would all agree on that. So being able to do that is really powerful, and I feel that this time is inviting that. I really feel that this time is inviting us to reflect on how we communicate, when we step back, how we pre-frame it, how we explain ourselves, and it's really a beautiful practice. Also, how do you communicate with yourself? Do you recognize what is your truth and what is important to you, and that your voice matters? Do you suppress yourself and go, I better not speak? Because obviously as a child somewhere I learned that, you know, it's not safe, or I have less friends, you know, but realize you could have evolved by now in terms of your communication. And of course you're always worthy of being heard and speaking your truth. And you can pre-frame, I want to hear your opinion, and thank you for listening. And in that you can even do another thing. I've counseled people or worked with women where, you know, for example, one side is more the listener and the other one's more the talker. And as much as that can have a great beginning to a relationship or to something, it's not sustainable. So it's great for the one that usually talks to say, hey, thank you for always listening to me. I'd love to listen to you. I'd love to hear your perspective. And then really saying, I'm just going to be quiet for 10 minutes, especially if they're very shy and resisting really opening up or sharing. And say, I'll just be quiet and wait. I'm very comfortable. I appreciate how you've been listening to me and respecting me, and I want to offer that back to you. And then you just sit in silence and you smile. And if it doesn't work, you can say, hey, can we try that again another time maybe? Now that you know that I love that, maybe when you're ready, we can do that. So these are some tips on that I'm aware of, and it's so important, especially these days. We cannot have a divide. A divide is totally going backwards in evolution. It's a war between people. It creates suspicion and disconnection, and it is not a healthy movement forward in relationships, in anything. Of course, we know there are certain people we can't communicate with. They'll never understand, and you've tried and you understand that doesn't work, so stop that one, of course, and I'm the same. But when you know you care and they care, and it's just a bit of a glitch there that can be healed, then it's so worth it to heal that. And leading by example, everyone in this world that is managing to communicate with someone that's on the other side of the fence, that is scared or shy to talk, is breaking through this barrier and going right up into free communication and real respect for our differences. And also being okay to change our mind, not mocking somebody for saying, hey, I've changed my mind. Saying, if you change your mind and if we have an open discussion, I'm not going to say I told you so. I'm not going to mock you. I'm going to just realize we're all learning at different times, and we all can change our minds, everyone on any side, and we can find a middle path that's even completely unique. And that is the beauty of communication. So I hope this helps, because I need to remind myself of this too. It's an art form, it takes practice. So give yourself time and take baby steps and be amazed at how quickly things can change. Thank you for listening. I'd love to know what you thought about it. If you liked it, if you had questions, if you've got other topics that you wish to talk about at some point. Have a beautiful moment of now, and most of all, listen to your inner voice. Listen to what rings true to you. That's most important. That's the important start. Your voice matters, your truth matters, and that's how we evolve and shift. Ciao for now.